Welcome to the Waterfowl East podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. Got Matthew Wilson, my brother Scott Wilson here today, just the two of us. And it is officially week one, almost finished week one of year number 5 turkey season in New Brunswick. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with Canada and where New Brunswick is, it's right on the border of the state of Maine. So 5 years ago, we started our official turkey season here. There was no trap and transfer. It was just turkeys naturally, basically migrating from Maine, I'd say, huh?
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way.
I mean, I don't know the evolution of it, but we certainly didn't invest any money in it here in New Brunswick from what I know.
Yeah, so I mean, they're not in the top part of the province, so they can't be coming from Quebec at all.
I wouldn't say so, no.
Yeah, so
on the border where we are, the state that borders us, the two zones that are on our border are the northern zone is a 1 turkey zone, and the one that splits the 95 highway is a 2 turkey zone.
right.
So this zone and the one right across the border from us are 2 turkey zones.
Right.
And then ours is a 1 turkey. So it only makes sense that they came from Maine.
Yeah. And there's been reports of banded birds being killed over here that have a Maine band on them, which is cool.
I believe it, yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool. So, and the population only seems to be growing. So, Scott was lucky enough. It's a draw here for now. We're in they usually do it in 3-year stints, where their management plan is 3-year stints. So we did the first 3 years, and then coming into the second 3 years, we lowered the age limit, I believe, and then we added some non-resident tags. So if you are a non-resident and you're interested in coming to New Brunswick, that opportunity is now open. But anyhow, Scott was lucky enough to draw a tag this year, and you've never shot a turkey, eh?
No, 5 years to get a tag. And so I specifically applied for the zone because it was low draw. I looked at the turkey reports and realized that there wasn't as many people applying for it, and was lucky enough to get it.
Yeah, I think Zone 10, like the 95 interstate, ends right in our community here. And Zone 10 is on the northern part of that. You can see where it comes into New Brunswick. So the northern part of Interstate 95 in Canada here is Zone 10, and it's quite a big zone. And then you have Zone 15, which is on the southern end of that highway. So it would make sense that there would be more tags in Zone 10. But for us, that's what we do. We put in for a draw, and you have to pick the specific zone. And, some zones are going to have more tags in them, so there'll be more opportunities. No different than our resident moose draw. So, but anyway, Scott put in for Zone 15, and that's the zone a few years back. I drew...
First year.
No, it wasn't the first year. It must have been the second year, because Wesley and Lori had theirs the first year. I didn't have mine.
Oh, okay.
Mine
I thought it was first.
Mine was the next year, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
And I had mine in Zone 15. They both had theirs in Zone 15 as well. So, but yeah, lucky enough to get drawn, and then it was a sort of a dash to get ready, because we've never really hunted turkeys here before. I mean, you can travel and do it, and I have some, but it's like I said, year 5, it's all very new for us. So I guess Robin had hers last year, so he had a little bit of gear. But
right, yeah. Had a lot of fun last year. It reminded me a lot of moose hunting.
Yeah.
Only you could screw up on the turkey and go down the road and jump on another one.
Right.
And call it, have it respond, and get into another situation where you hadn't had a chance to get one, which isn't like, moose will respond to you at a certain time of year, but you might only have that happen once. And we got into 4 or 5 different turkeys, 4 or 5 different hunts where we had opportunity to shoot turkeys, and it was a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed it that way.
Yeah, it's our population right now is good. And because it's new, I mean, you'd have to assume that not every bird that we see here has been hatched here. So there's some that probably are coming from Maine that have been hunted.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you can tell.
Yeah.
Either they've been shot at here or been shot at over there. But there is a super healthy poult population here in the springtime.
Yeah.
And they seem to be doing well. So, like you say, being able to shoot at one, then not drive too far, get into an, see some other ones or know an area where you saw some, get into another setup. And,
yeah,
it makes it so that you want to stay at it.
Oh, listen,
Starting
it was
out.
so much fun. Yeah. I mean, we limited skill, right? I'm not a big caller. I'm not a waterfowl caller like yourself, so I popped a mouth call in. I was lucky enough that it didn't choke me and was able to make a few noises there and got turkeys to respond. That's fairly significant. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no question. When you're using the right call and they respond back and they start coming your direction, you're doing something right. That's a good feeling. And like you say, I mean, as a moose hunter, whenever you get a chance to go out or get a tag or get with a group, one of us gets our tag, you can call at them and they'll call back. But a lot of times you're not, for your main gig, hunting deer, you're not doing a whole lot of calling,
No. I mean, I've had a few different times where I've had them respond to a rattle, some scent. I've had them respond to that. But deer are not vocal for the most part around New Brunswick. They're ghosts.
Yeah.
So it's sitting still. It's moving like a deer. It's, jumping them. And so it's the greatest cross between my passion of big game hunting and being able to shoot and screw up and miss and mess up like waterfowl hunting and have all kinds of opportunity to do it again.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to a guy at the gym today that he also had his tag and got it done like the first day. And I said, when I had my tag, I hunted every day for a week.
Yeah.
Monday to Friday, I guess. And Friday morning, I ended up getting it. And, but man, I had a lot of close encounters. I was doing the right things. I was putting myself in the right spot. And just one thing or another would happen. They'd have hens. I saw them. I saw lots of turkeys and had them gobbling. They just wouldn't leave the hen, or it just wasn't the right spot, or they wouldn't cross the tree line, and looking back on that and looking at our hunt, and we'll get into that, but our hunt was awesome. But man, as soon as it was over, I was like, shit, I wish we could go tomorrow morning and do this again.
Oh yeah. We were ready to go right there.
Yeah. Let's go get another one.
There was turkeys gobbling across the road and,
Yeah, let's go get another one.
Every part of me wanted to go dive in the woods, cut that distance, strike a gobble, and see if we could get them to come to us with no intention of shooting them, just to.
No, but just to talk about the want.
Oh,
and we didn't do it, but
but yeah,
the want to get back after it and do it was a lot of fun. We've watched it on TV. Everybody here in this area, their whole life, you saw a turkey hunt. Maybe you watched it, maybe you didn't, but after you do it a time or two,
yeah,
so much fun. So,
and it really got me last year because it wasn't an easy hunt for us.
Right.
It was, we were greenhorns.
Yeah.
And weren't necessarily rug up the right way with gun and ammunition,
Yeah.
It's just a bird.
Right.
Number 6 lead. What's the deal?
100%.
So we were quite green looking back on it, but the amount of birds that we struck and what we learned, how I was able to adapt and learn from that so quickly in a day and a half.
Yeah.
it feels like a lifetime of turkey hunting.
Well, and one thing about turkey hunting is I did that podcast with Rob Keck there, the last one, and he said there's two words you never say in turkey hunting: never and always.
Yeah.
They never do this, or they always do this, or and so at some point, regardless of your setup, you try to do all the right things and you still don't get them. You miss them, or and that's the one thing. They are so much like when you think about waterfowl hunting, you miss every time you go out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're not going to hit every shot that you shoot, and but there's just something about turkey hunting. Like when you miss one, it's a bird, but it's like a big game animal.
Yeah.
It's like having a bear there or a deer there or something like that. Like when you miss one, it's like, oh, damn,
Yeah. You just set up a plan, you execute it, and then you miss the shot. It's like, oh, God, what did I do?
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas waterfowl, it's like, oh, well, whatever. You missed that
they
shot.
Were flying.
There's more coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you got your license, we all go on that morning and check, and you saw that you got your license. Like, what was your first steps? Getting some new gear, thinking about what you were going to get?
Yeah. So that's exactly where I went because, like I said, last year we weren't rug upright. So, it was my wife, Robin, and what she was comfortable shooting and what I had available. And so she had chosen to use a 16 gauge, which there was absolutely nothing available for bullets.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's tough on the 16. That's one sub gauge. There still isn't a lot.
No, there's nothing really. And I was concerned about it earlier, and it turned out that it was a legitimate concern because she had two birds come in very close. The first one I'll never forget because we spotted it, stalked it. I crawled out in the field and set a decoy up. Called a couple times. He gobbled back, and I had her sitting ahead of me 20 yards and heard a gunshot, and I was like, holy cow, that worked. And the way I was sitting, my feet were above my butt, so I rocked a couple times to try to get out, but I was in a hole and couldn't get out, so I had to roll over like an old man and get myself on my feet. And when I come out into the field, this massive gobbler with a white head was standing in the middle of the field. And when I saw him, he was just as shocked to see me. And that bird literally jumped in the air, like 3 feet in the air, and kind of like landed on his feet and turned around and ran away. And the whole time he was like parallel with Robin, who had just shot at him. And she couldn't get herself maneuvered around to get another bullet in the gun to try to shoot again. So, and that was how the day went. we got on to turkeys nonstop, and it wasn't till that evening, and we found it was a spot where they, knowing now, they actually go. It was like a community dirt bath. I think that's what they call it.
Sure. But
I'd seen them down in the corner of this field, and after she had shot at that one too, when I walked over there, it was this massive, it was kind of like a moose wallow where they go and they have these dirt baths, and I'd spotted them heading for that way, and we bolted down across the field, set up, and within 5 minutes in one call, they were all coming to this communal dirt bath. It was pretty neat. And then we came and got your gun, and everything was good after that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. And I mean, it's easy to miss them.
Oh,
and everybody does. And Rob made some good points there about point of aim, point of impact. And when you're shooting waterfowl, hey, I mean, some guys come out and they'll shoot 2 boxes of shells in the morning. Like,
right.
When you're shooting at a turkey, here's the big thing. The big difference is, I guess, is with waterfowl, you're pointing it. But with a turkey, you're aiming it.
Yeah.
So.
And you've got to hit it,
Yeah.
Throat to top of chest.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to nail them.
And it wasn't her fault because she's shooting a 16 gauge single shot.
Yeah.
No choke tube in it. So full choke, we'll say.
Yeah.
With a 2 3/4 inch number 6 or, something like that. Lead, gross load.
Yeah. Just whatever you had there.
Right.
Didn't think about it.
No, because that's all. Yeah. You're lucky to find 16 gauge ammo around here, let alone
Yeah.
anything to hunt a turkey with.
No, that's right. Yeah. 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 So again, just being green and never growing up doing it. That's what you do. And a lot of times when you learn lessons in hunting, especially, that's how you learn them.
The hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That didn't work.
Yeah.
I missed that, or I missed that opportunity, and let's try something else.
Right. So I get my tag. I've learned from that.
Yeah.
So,
and she was successful in the end.
She was successful. Yeah. We came and got your gun and went out the next morning. And again, being green, I walked right out in the middle of a field, knew they were roosted in the trees, could see me in as plain as day walk out in this field. I mean, I'm 6'5", 230 pounds, and I walked out in the middle of a field, set a decoy up, and walked back in behind a pile of wood and went, there, let's do this. You know what I mean?
Let's try this.
Yeah, and turkeys come out of the trees every which way but ours. And I was like, geez, I don't know how. Why wouldn't that work? They're up there sleeping, like, they didn't see me.
You're right.
Yeah. So again, I was like, the heck with this. Let's go back to what we know, which was spot and stalk.
Right.
And we drove down the road. Boom. Here's two turkeys, full strut, pointing at each other. Reminded me of two big boys fighting over McDonald's.
Yeah.
And I said, here we go. Here's the plan. We're going to jump in the woods. All you got to do is make it in here 100 yards in this woods right here, and we're going to have this turkey. Walked in. I said, he's going to come from the north because we walked in from the south. Put her out in front of me again. Found some little bit of an opening there. Honest to God, Matthew, I did an excited cluck with a yelp behind it. Instant gobble. And I said, get ready. Get your gun ready. And I called again. And I just went quiet. And it wasn't 5 minutes and that turkey come running in. So anyway, she was successful. I couldn't believe it. And we did that half a dozen times.
Yeah.
In a day and a half.
Well, and again, all of those encounters, like when I think about, like I tried a couple days, I tried to hunt the afternoons or even the evenings. And, I had encounters with birds every time except for once.
Yeah.
And one mid-afternoon there, I went out and nothing came around. But every time there was birds around and they would gobble, and they maybe had a hen or whatnot. And eventually I was successful on that last day. But I'm telling you, I had an absolute blast.
Oh, yeah, man.
So much fun.
It was one of the most exhilarating hunts I've ever been on.
Yeah.
The ability to mess up like we did and go back out and do it again and just keep rolling like that was so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, get right back into it again.
Just, okay, let's go. Jump in the truck, let's go. Let's go down the road and do this again. And if that had been a deer, you'd just been heartbroken.
Right. Here especially.
Oh, God. Anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere, yeah. True. So you were going to find some gear this time.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. We'll get back on track. So
yeah, no, it's all good.
When I was heavy into waterfowl with you, early 20s, maybe even 19, I was lucky enough to come across a Browning BPS 10 gauge, and I've had that gun ever since. Definitely regretted it as I got older, and it kicks so hard that it punches me in the face. Typically swells my cheek and my my eye socket up. But that is, I I've got the turkey weapon now.
Yep.
So I put a Pattern Master Blackbeard in it, I think it's called. Don't quote me on that, but it's a turkey choke. I think it's a 5.60 or a 6.50, I can't remember. But put that in it first thing. I actually got a contact from you to get it.
Yep, John Christiani.
Yep.
Christiani.
Yeah. And plug that in, and then the next hunt was ammo. And 10 gauge ammo is hard enough to find as it is, and very few companies are making it now. I think we contacted Kent.
Yeah, we tried Kent. We tried yeah.
Yeah. And what I really wanted was TSS, specifically Salt Creek. Makes the TSS load. That was really what I wanted.
What's their deal anyway? I've never heard of that. I remember you talking about it.
They're just a custom ammunition house. I don't think they're a super large company, but they specifically, one of their statements is that as long as they're in business, the Mighty 10 gauge will have ammunition.
Huh.
So they produce a TSS load that's a 3-ounce load. I think you can get it in number 10, and it's got something like 1,100 or 1,300 BBs in it. And I watched on YouTube, and
that's what you want, that smaller shot size.
Yeah.
For sure.
I watched on YouTube, and guys were shooting it at like 100 yards, getting 6 and 7 inches of penetration and getting a pattern out of it.
That's ridiculous.
Like putting a ridiculous amount of BBs on target.
Wow.
Yeah. So it says that a number 10 3-ounce load is going 1,070 feet per second and has 1,638 pellets in it.
Holy cow.
So, you can get a number 8, it's got 819, a number 9 with 1,092. And it's a 5-round box for $100, so it's a lot of money. But when it comes to killing turkeys, there's nothing that is comparable to TSS, and that's tungsten super shot.
Yeah, that's what they're all saying.
Right. So that's what I was after. Living here in Canada, you can't. A lot of these companies don't ship. There was different ways I could have got it in here, but I went to our local gun dealer here, Curry's. And Dale was able to get me 2 boxes of 10 gauge Winchester Longbeard, a number 4 and a number 5, and I went out first thing and patterned them at a couple different yardages, 50 and 30.
What'd you think?
50 was the max, probably. I might have been able to push it to 60, but 50 was, I had the patterns there. The density of the pattern was quite spread at 50.
Yeah. If you had to make a follow up, or if we had one hung up or something.
It was quite alarming compared to the TSS, what I was getting. I've actually got a picture of it right here. So at 30 yards with the number 4, at 50 yards, I put 37 BBs in a 12-inch circle. And at 30 yards, I put 148. So
you'll have to send that to me, and I'll put that on the. Yes, sir.
And I did aim high at 50, just a little bit. Basically covered the bullseye there.
That's a pretty good pattern at 30 yards. There's not much going to get away from that.
No. I was pretty comfy with that 10 gauge at 30 yards.
Yep. I would dare say.
Yep. And again, that's with the Pattern Master choke. So, yeah. So that was the first thing I did, because I wanted to see where I was shooting, how I was shooting it, what I was working with here.
Well, and anybody, again, like Rob was saying, or anybody that hunts a lot of turkeys, like you got to know your point of aim, point of impact. You got to shoot your gun, guys. Yeah.
And, I've got 2 boxes, so I got 17 rounds now, because I shot a couple and checked her out. Shot a couple of different other bullets too, just to see, a couple of duck loads and stuff like that. But the Winchester was basically the only option I had. I I know that Winchester's making some copper coated tungsten, because one of the issues that I've heard of with tungsten is it can be hard on your barrel.
Okay.
So they're starting to copper plate it
Right.
to coat it so it doesn't
Scratch your barrel up.
Yeah, it's harder. It's harder than your barrel. A lot of these companies will put they'll put a clear plastic in the case around the shot, and that follows it out the barrel until it hits your choke tube to keep it from scratching your barrel up.
Okay.
It's like a lambler plastic of some type. So that goes in there. It's like a casing. Pretty neat.
Yeah.
And they roll crimp most of them, which I thought was interesting. I've never seen shotgun shells that were roll crimped.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So they put a paper disc in the top and then just kind of melt the plastic on top of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell that they're sort of a custom shell. And when you, for people like us that are very green at this, like when you think about the amount of effort that they're putting into this ammunition, you can obviously tell that it's not for shooting boxes and boxes and boxes. Like you're there's a lot of effort and time and research going into how we're going to make these shells and how we're going to stack the most ammo in there and make the densest pattern.
Yeah. So I do have a plan to get some of the Salt Creek ammo. I am going to get some because I do plan on turkey hunting, and I'm going to get 2 boxes of it. I'll have 10 rounds of it. And to me, is a 10 gauge overkill? Probably. But I got it. I own it.
Yeah, I mean, people have hunted turkeys and geese with 10 gauges forever. Now, the only thing that really, I think, was the sort of the demise of the 10 gauge is when the 3.5-inch 12 gauge came out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know, but that doesn't mean that, like, I still have guys that come up that have 10 gauges.
Yeah.
You know, Kevin Perkins shot one for 100 years, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, they work, but it definitely is one of the, you can't really call it a sub gauge off of 12, but it's definitely one of those cartridges that's hard to find.
Oh,
now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, there's companies that kind of basically quit making them.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm not going to debate that. Like, tungsten has, in my opinion, and again, this is a green opinion, but I've done a fair amount of research on it because, you know, I had the opportunity to shoot a turkey and I wanted to make sure that I got my turkey. But TSS has revolutionized turkey hunting in the form that you can now take a 410 and get a kill pattern at 50 yards, no problem.
Yeah.
You know, 28 gauge is making a huge comeback as a turkey gun because of TSS. 20 gauges are basically all you need now for turkey hunting.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of guys using them.
Is a 20 gauge. Indian Creek choke tube, 20 gauge, TSS, 7.9 mixes, something like that.
Well, I know, like, I have a 16 gauge, and I don't shoot it often, but when I do, I shoot bismuth out of it.
Yeah.
And I can tell you there's a difference. And bismuth has taken a big push in the industry. But at the end of the day, again, I'll compare it to a race car. Like, nobody's going to build a race car and take it down to the gas station and put regular fuel in it.
Right.
They're just not.
No.
They're not going to do it.
No.
They're going to do all that work, and then they're going to put the best fuel they can absolutely put in it and afford.
Yeah.
You know, which is certainly, when it comes to turkey hunting, makes the most sense, right?
Yeah.
What pattern's the best? What's going to have the best knockdown power? And we know with shotgun shells, most generally, it's whatever the densest pellet is.
Right.
Difference between throwing a small hammer or a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the difference between a ball bearing and a marble.
Yep. Yeah.
No.
Whether you're going to hit that bird, and if you don't hit it good, the pellets that you put on target, are they going to have enough knockdown power to really fumble that bird, or, you know?
Yeah. So the knockdown power of TSS is very impressive. I mean, when you see birds shot with TSS, they don't even flop.
Yep.
They're dead.
Yeah.
Stones them.
Yeah, and that's what we've noticed
in the patterns that they get out of it. And I don't know if it's because it's a smaller BB, but the patterns that it produces are phenomenal.
Yeah, well, that smaller shot size with any shotgunning, whatever you're shooting, I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
Pattern density.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more to be said for that. And I think that nowadays people are starting to look at that a little more. But certainly truer words were never spoken when you said about the TSS being the revolution for turkey hunting and sub gauges, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like 410, again, I go back to Rob. He was talking about all his grandkids have been shooting 410, shooting turkeys with a 410, and that's what he hunts with a lot of times, you know. So,
if you were running and gunning, I'm not going to lie to you, that 10 gauge would be a beast to carry around.
Yeah.
So you think about Gramps 410 or, a Savage Stevens 302 single shot 12 gauge even.
Yeah.
Lugging that around is a lot easier than, a great big old 10 gauge BPS pump.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to fight with recoil. Your shells even weigh less. Like a 3 ounce loaded tungsten there in a 3.5 inch 10 gauge is a lot different than an ounce in a 410 shell.
Yeah.
So it all, it's all what you want to do. Now I will say New Brunswick is 5 years into this, and some of their shot restrictions don't take into account for TSS.
Right.
Which is probably going to cause some issues for guys when they start trying to use it, because it's outside our shot spec for shot size. And I think ours goes up to 6.
No, I don't know. I'd have to confirm that.
Yeah, I know there is shot size on it. Maybe it does go higher. It just doesn't go down into lower.
Yeah, it doesn't go down into the lower. Yeah,
but I didn't think it went higher than 6. So a lot of TSS is 8, 9s, and 10s. So that might cause some issue because they don't really spec that out here. But there's no question that it is the ultimate superior load for turkey hunting.
No question.
No question. You can mess around with choke tubes. I watched hundreds of videos on YouTube. There's no specific one, but
you may only use shotguns 10 to 28 gauge with shot sizes from number 4 to number 7.
Yeah. So that Salt Creek stuff isn't even really legal in my 10 gauge because it only goes to 8.
Yeah, well, that might be something that has to be. And I think it might be now that TSS is becoming more of a thing.
Yeah.
That might be something that's looked at.
So I never looked at it really until I got my license this year, so I don't know how long it's been around. I would assume it's been around and it's just really gaining popularity, but... Yeah,
tungsten's been around for a while, but the push for TSS, it's coming.
Oh,
Ever since they started bringing out bismuth in boxes of 25, and started pushing that a little more, and then every company sort of jumped on. Boss shotguns, and there's a whole bunch of them now that are selling bismuth. You knew that was probably going to come back around for turkeys, anyways.
Yeah.
For waterfowl, it's still. It's expensive for a waterfowl hunter that's going to be shooting a lot more ammo.
Yeah.
But, certainly for turkeys, it's definitely got a place. So you got your ammo. You got your gun picked out.
Yeah.
You patterned it.
Yep.
Was there anything else that you learned from the year before that you thought you should have?
So being green last year, all the reading I didn't really listen to local guys here maybe as well as I should have, but I only got one decoy. I got a hen decoy. And the reason I only got a hen decoy was that it would only ever elicit a positive response, whereas a jake and a hen or a jake could give you either a positive and a negative response, right? If you see a lot of jakes around here chasing toms. So if you were calling a tom that was being harassed by jakes, he might shy away from a jake decoy with a hen. He'd be like, I don't want to mess around with.
Right.
I don't need to mess around with a whole group of jakes trying to beat the crap out of me. So I went with a lone hen that did work. I mean, first morning we had hens come in, they were kikiing all around it and stuff, but I went and bought a Avian X Jake decoy to go with it. Looked at Dave Smith's quite hard. It just came down to a money thing and what I wanted to invest in it. But I know I joked around with you guys. I wanted to put a whole flock of decoys out there,
which I was okay with.
Yeah, I was jacked up. Like I wanted a dozen.
I'm never gonna say no to more decoys.
Yeah, I was down for like a dozen. I wanted a whole flock in the field.
We're gonna Bob Ross the steel.
Yeah,
paint a nice picture.
Yeah, and so anyway, I got a Jake and a hen now. So apparently that's all you need.
Yeah.
Dave Smith's got some interesting ones. Avian X has got some nice ones there too. I could see a place and a time where you'd want a full strut tom. I could see that 100%.
Yeah, they work too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I think it would be a good thing to have all of those.
Yep.
Because I don't think you should say that we always use a Jake and a hen,
Right. No, I'm with you. So I think I'll just add to that every year. I'm going to pick up a decoy. I was particularly enamored with the mating motion pair that Dave Smith had.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty cool thing where it actually had a Jake standing on top of a hen, a lay down hen, and a string hooked to it and it rocked back and forth.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty neat because I think a little bit of motion would be good.
Motion is always good.
Right. So I've known that from waterfowl, the Mojo decoys, the kites, the flapping.
Yep. Flags.
Flags, yeah. They do come with motion stakes, so if you had a strutter, you could put it on a motion stake. I think that's legal in New Brunswick, but I'm not sure. I've never seen anything that says it isn't.
Yeah, I haven't either.
No.
And I don't see why here that it wouldn't be, but I totally agree. I'm all about the motion. I mean, that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference between a decoy and a real bird a lot of times? Well, there's several differences, but it comes down to motion.
Oh, yeah.
That's at times. Even so, you think about the situation where it's like, okay, these birds have been called out a lot. As soon as they hear a call, they're like, oh, no thanks, to the woods.
Yeah.
But if you've got a motion decoy, maybe they're just going to be out in the field doing their thing, and that can move a little bit, and he's sitting across the field going, I better get over there, and no words are spoken.
Right.
And he just comes running.
Yeah.
So
that I mean, I'm going to...
And it's going to get to that point.
It is, and so we've talked a lot about that, with a few guys at work and some of the other guys that we hunt with. They think they're going to get smarter.
They are.
And I don't disagree with that statement. I think that where we're only hunting them for 2 weeks, the longer you progress into this hunting season of 2 weeks, the more you're educating birds and the more wary they are in that moment.
Yeah.
Hereditarily, are they going to get smarter? I don't know. I have seen smarter birds. I've also been in Indiana where there's tons of turkey hunters, and Tennessee where there's tons of turkey hunters, and the birds aren't any brighter.
Yeah.
So I've been in New York and Virginia and seen very wary birds, but it was later in the season where they're hunting them all year round.
Yeah. And I think when you think about what they are, they're a prey animal.
Mm.
I mean, they try not to get themselves into situations that they can't get out of. And certainly when you're being chased after, you learn pretty quick. Now, you're right, our season is short.
Yeah.
But when you think about, now we were over to Dad's there today. He was loading that canoe on. And I just happened to glance at the old decoy barn there. And one of those old plywood silhouettes was on the, still nailed up there, screwed up there with the straight head and the wing nut. And I'm like, that's inside of our generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a thing.
Yep.
Right? And progressively.
You went back to them though at one point.
Oh yeah. No, I would still, yeah.
Not those ones, but the
Silhouettes, yeah.
Silhouettes,
Oh,
yeah.
we have a ton of big owls, like
Big owls, yeah.
40 dozen,
Yeah.
tons. You know, when I put them out, I put a lot out. And the silhouette industry is big right now. So it's not so much of an evolution as it is a revolution.
Yeah.
But we, because of the market, make them smarter,
Yeah.
right? Like, if that's all we ever use for decoys, and then you and I, like, start mounting birds or, you know, start carving decoys or make a decoy that's more realistic and start using that, well, it's only going to be so long, especially if we're selling that product, that the birds catch on to it, right? Like, look at spinners.
Yeah.
When Mojos first came out, it was like catastrophic. You were shooting every bird that came within 100 miles of it.
Yeah.
And now there's places that if people use those, the birds are like, oh, well, there's a group of hunters, right? I mean, we can identify that because it all looks the same. There's the decoys, there's a spinner on a stick, you know. And in areas where it's pressured, they learn.
Yeah.
Over time.
Yeah.
So,
but see,
our season is short, though. You're right.
Yeah. And back to your theory that they're coming across the border. Maine has 2 seasons, spring and fall,
right?
And they're a month plus.
Yep.
Tons of pressure. So you're right. They'll evolve to this game of sitting on the edge of a field and calling to them. And listen, we were on the X this year. It's not always that way. You had a hard hunt. My wife had a hard hunt. Jason McLean just sent me pictures of guys that were successful. You know, it took them 2.5 days. They got a bird.
Yeah.
You know, so it just all depends. I know they're intelligent. I just don't know how highly intelligent or adaptive they are.
I think it'll take a lot. I think with the model that we have here right now,
yeah,
if it stays that way, like if our season doesn't extend or whatnot, like it would take a long time, generationally, for them to catch on as much. Like if we had 2 seasons and they were both 4 to 6 weeks long, you know, they would start catching on, besides people shooting at them regardless. Like there's definitely birds around here that if your truck pulls into the field and they're on the other side, they're running.
Yeah.
You know, they know.
Oh, yeah. And
danger.
To that point, I would be interested to go out next week and see how easy it is to elicit a response and do what we had happen. Like I think as these 2 weeks go on, the later you get into next week, the harder it's going to be. Because way more birds have been educated, way more people have messed up on them and trained them.
Shot at them. Yeah. Well, you're right, because I mean...
And that's going to educate them for the particular season. Now, because the bird only lives 5 years max, so does it pass that knowledge on? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hard to say.
I don't know. I mean, I would assume that. And the other thing is, too, is there's only going to be so many hunters.
Yeah. There's only 550 tags.
Right? So it's not like there's 5,000 hunters.
Right.
In a small area, and every turkey's being called at all day long.
Right.
You know, there's 500 spread out over, I'm not sure how many zones we got open now.
But there is in Maine.
Yeah, that's right. True, yeah, where they're coming from. Yeah. True, yeah.
And I mean, they can shoot 2 right across our border. So they're, I would assume that they're hammering them.
Right. And
they start earlier than us.
Right.
They start at the end of April.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And have been doing it for quite a few years.
Yeah, successfully.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think as hunters, we adapt quicker than the prey. So
we do, and I think with time they'll adapt with us if we allow more hunting and you know, it'll go. I mean, it will. They're only going to adapt to the pressure that's put on them, right?
Yeah. I still think this is some of the draw to turkey hunting, though, that it is relatively, I don't want to say easy, but you can produce more results quickly.
Yeah. Oh, For sure. Here right now, I mean, it's new. Even if they, we'll say it's a 3-year-old bird and it's been getting banged at over there for 2 years and it runs across the border.
Yeah.
Well, say it runs across the border, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's a whole year.
Right.
Legally before it's getting shot at or hunted again. It's pretty safe over here. It's kind of a haven.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. For the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's predators and whatever, and there's going to be people that are going to shoot at them regardless.
Oh yeah. There's a bunch of bunch of hillbillies, yeah.
But, our season is short and it is a draw system, so.
Yep, that's right. 550 tags and about 90% of them are actually getting bought, which kind of sucks too.
Yeah. Yeah, it does actually.
Yeah, I pulled up the big game report. That one kind of bothers me, but anyway.
Right. So you got your gear. Was there anything else that you got?
No, I don't. I mean, I went to the Turkey Federation and I was able to win a box call, which wasn't overly great at running, and I haven't really done much with a slate call. I would like to have a good slate call or a crystal, or I haven't figured that one out yet. But.
I got a couple actually from River's Edge Game Calls.
Yeah,
guy here in New Brunswick.
Yeah, no doubt.
Does a great job. They're both bird's eye. And he can make them out of a lot of different woods, whatever. I mean, almost anything that he can get a blank for. And I have one in glass and one in slate.
Okay.
And I'm not good at running those consistently either because I don't practice with them. I'm more apt to go for a diaphragm call. But they are nice, for sure. You can put a picture, like the glass ones, you can put a picture underneath them there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Does a nice job.
But I definitely like I'm with you. I like the mouth calls, the diaphragm calls.
Yeah, I do too. And it's just one of those things that you got to practice a little bit more because I have them downstairs, and every time I go in that room, I pick them up and I mess with them a little bit. And I think to myself, like even watching the hunt in public, there's definitely times where they just have them sitting on the ground and they scratch them, or if they're trying to locate, they're a little bit louder. They'll use that glass and scratch it out. So. Yeah,
honestly, I think I can get as loud a sound out of a diaphragm.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know where I rank in calling. I'm guessing it's not very good, but I was amazed at how quickly I could make the yelp and the in the clucks and stuff.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like blowing a duck or goose call. We'll say a goose call more so. Once you get the hang of how to present that air in over the call, that's what it's all sort of about. The placement of that call in your mouth and then how you present the air to it.
Yeah.
Then it's just a matter of practice.
Like I got the 3 different ones, the Alpha, the Echo, and I can't remember what the other one is, but from Woods Guys Inc.'s the Hunting Public calls there. And Woodhaven, yeah.
Yeah.
Wood Guys or whatever. I think their business is Wood Guys Inc.
Okay.
Woodhaven calls is where they come from.
Yeah.
And at first, I could only run the Alpha, but quickly put that away because the other 2 had different cuts on them. And when I learned how to run those, I liked the raspy sound of them.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting, like even people who are running those same calls, they don't sound the same.
No, because neither do we.
Right. And neither does the 2 hens that we heard calling.
Right. So that's why. And I think this, when we're talking about turkeys and gear and things like that, there's definitely times when maybe you can't get an answer with a diaphragm, but you get an answer with a pot call.
Or a box call.
And maybe it's only the glass, or maybe it's only the slate.
Yeah.
It just sort of depends on the day and what they're doing. And those are all things for us that, rather than just go out and shoot one and go, oh, this is easy. Like to do this for years and years and years and be successful at it over and over and over again. Those are the things that's going to keep you engaged.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? There's because like we say often, there's got to be more to it.
Oh yeah.
Than just going out and sitting down and
Yeah.
blasting a call a few times and turkey runs in and you shoot it, you know.
So it's no different than any type of hunting. You're always trying to get the prey on an equal level as you, but you always keep a little bit of advantage in your corner. So for me, having done what we've done now, and I'm very glad to get one under my belt, I don't know that I would do it that way again. So I think I would head down further into the big woods, and I'd run around, and I can't do an owl call worth of shit, but at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be out there screeching and screaming like an owl, trying to get a gobble, and I want to do one that way.
I'm very surprised. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm actually quite surprised at the amount of owls that we heard.
I know. It was surprising.
I'm like, holy shit, that's an owl.
But that guy didn't react to it, did he?
He did not. No, and there was 2 owls, was there not?
Yeah, and there was a bunch of crows.
Yeah.
He didn't react to those either.
No, he didn't, did he? He never shot gobbled at all.
Nothing.
When he started to gobble, it was on his own accord. But the funny part, and I tell this story a lot, and I have to, anybody I talk to about our hunt, that's one of the things I bring up is I can just picture him standing on that branch, strutting, and then gobbling, turning around, because you could tell when he was looking the other way.
You could, yeah. And it was making me laugh too, so
Yeah.
I'm glad that you got on
Oh
that.
yeah, I'm like, he's just standing up there, just rocking. You can hear him. You can hear him drumming on the branch.
Yeah.
And you go, pow, and he'd gobble.
Yeah.
So
No, I think, if I was to do this again, listen, everybody likes an easy hunt.
yeah,
That's not always what it's about, is being easy and being successful and easy. Sometimes it's fun to work for it a little bit.
well, again, when I think about when I had my tag compared to ours, like, it was a blast. So much fun.
Yeah.
Both opportunities were fun.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed, and I know you guys enjoyed, when I had my tag, because I was on there every morning, like play-by-play, talking to you. You know, I tried to sneak up. I tried to do the turkey reaper there and sneak up on him, and I had a lot of cool encounters, you know. So as much as I wanted to shoot one, I'm like, God, I'm just having such a good time. You know, so much fun.
And so I think if you can get to that spot where you're not putting a bunch of stress on yourself and anxiety that you have to harvest one,
right,
and just go hunt, that's fun.
And do it the way you want to do it.
Do it the way you want to do it. Now, it was interesting to hear, Jason McLean would be, one of the foremost people I know in turkey hunting. He's been on 11 successful hunts.
Yeah.
That's a lifetime turkey hunting here in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear him say that he would like to try it with a bow, because I thought the same.
Yeah.
I was considering a bow, but being the first one, I just, I kind of want to get one under my belt.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about our hunt.
Okay.
And we were both busy. Didn't have a lot of time to scout.
Yeah, and so,
But I had a lot of pins on my phone and kind of had an idea where there was turkeys.
having lived here and having grown up here and lived here, we had a pretty good idea where the turkeys are. So I didn't do a lot of scouting because I couldn't make up my mind what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That was my biggest problem. Originally, I'd put in for a tag here. I'd kind of talked to Jason to see, how he felt about having us or letting us hunt on his farm, which he was all for it, but it didn't feel right to me.
Yeah, I never feel right with that either.
No, didn't feel right to me.
If he can't be there, I don't.
No, wasn't interested.
I'd almost rather go someplace else.
Yeah.
Not that I don't want to be on his ground. I just feel bad being on his ground when he's not there.
Yeah. So, I'm going to go to another spot where you'd seen one that morning. And when I pulled up in there, that poor bugger, he reminded me of a Chinese dancer there that you see with the fans, the Oriental dancers with the fans. He'd been spinning in that field all day. He never left it. He was there from the morning when you seen him till I put him to bed that night.
Right.
Spinning around in circles with his fan up. And there was a hen there, and that was kind of scouting for me. I didn't put a bunch of time into it because I almost felt like that wasn't going to work and we were just going to run and gun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I had just started sort of dog training out in that area.
Yeah.
A little bit. And that whole block out there is solid full.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot.
It's just turkey heaven. So where you and I went was where I started day one. And I had my tag, and that's where we sat, is where just on the other side of that is where.
Yeah, I thought that was funny when I went down in there, because when I put this turkey to bed, I didn't actually see where it went to roost, and I didn't know the lay of that field.
Right.
And so going in there that morning, I actually pointed at a spot where you would set up your first day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so that was the other thing. Like, anytime we were there was always turkeys in the field. So you couldn't really go down that tree line.
Right.
And be like, oh, this is the spot. Maybe we'll just hang a little piece of ribbon here so we can find it in the morning and
right.
and get in there, or maybe even trim a couple spots so that we can get in and it's not loud or anything like that. Like, it was dark and we're both sitting there and I'm like,
you got a plan?
Do you think we should turn the light on and look? And it's like, I don't know. If there's turkeys here, they might see the light. And we're like all thumbs.
Oh,
trying to, well, should we go in here? I'm like, oh, if I remember correct, I'm like, there's not much cover there from when I was here. And then I was like, well, I do have a video of that. And I'm like, geez, we're overthinking it. Let's just go down the tree line here and set up. So, we had the thoughts of either going way down the field or being in that tree line. And it was like, well, this is where I saw him. Where'd you see him? And you set up there too. So we said, all right, let's just plow into the bushes. It looks open right here. And it ended up being a good spot.
Oh, it was, we were on the X.
We were right where they needed to be. Yeah.
We fumbled our way to the X.
Yeah. We just kind of, this seems right. We can see the whole field here.
Yeah.
Where they're going to be coming around, and we know if they're behind us, there's that opening down the tree line here that they can come through, and path of least resistance, and got set up.
Yeah. Got sitting there and having fumbled around like we did, because we were there really early. I started second guessing because, I looked at my phone and its legal light was 5:30.
Right.
And I was like, it's legal right now, and I haven't heard a gobble yet.
Right.
And I did a couple clucks, a couple yelps there, nothing. Not
a thing.
Until about 6 o'clock, and he finally started gobbling. He gobbled once. He must have been facing the opposite way, and then he spun on his branch, like you said, and gobbled at us, and then you heard that one with me. And it was like, okay. And he must have hammered there for an hour.
Once he started, that was it.
He was just going. And then he would shock gobble to my yelps. I was still apprehensive that it was going to work, because sitting out in the field, we'd left a headlamp out there. There was just...
It looks like there's something left out there in the field. Looks like a light. And I sit up, I'm like, oh, shit. That was me. I'm like, well, I'm like, if he sees that, by the time he sees that, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Unless he sees that from the roost, he's in trouble.
Yeah. I think one of the things that saved us, and I remember calling you that night and talking, and like we just kind of threw it together, which you can overthink it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that saved us is if we were there super early.
Yep. No question. Well, yeah, you said, when I talked to the landowner, he said that there'd been several other guys ask about hunting on his farm, like whether that be out behind the home farm or in the area that we were hunting. And
yeah,
you said, I'm thinking maybe we should get there early. And I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. If you said, let's leave at 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever. Yeah, I don't care. So I'll go right now.
I think my exact words were, I think this is going to be a waterfowl morning.
Yep, for sure.
This feels like a goose morning.
Yeah.
To the point that I'm pretty sure I didn't sleep all night.
Yeah. It's always a good feeling when you pull in and nobody's there, right?
Yeah.
And on those mornings, whenever I think I should be there or leave the house, I'm going to go 45 minutes earlier than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll sleep in the truck if I need to.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was all for being there early, and I honestly, if I slept an hour, that was it.
Yeah. I was pretty jacked up too. I was pretty pumped.
I got home, like after I'd seen that one spinning in the field, I was like, okay, that's my turkey.
Yep.
That's my tom.
That's the one.
I got it now. I went home, didn't really have my stuff sorted. It was also supposed to be -2.
Yeah.
High winds. Like it was going to be ridiculously cold, which it wasn't.
No.
There was none of that. It was a perfect morning. But I started ripping through gear and, how do you dress? Like, how am I supposed to dress if we're sitting here for 3 hours? So I had layer upon layer on. And then I'm thinking, if it doesn't work out and we got to move, I'm not going to be able to move. Like, I got so much stuff on. If we start moving, I'm going to sweat to death.
Well, I wasn't planning on moving.
No.
I said to myself, because I thought the same thing. I'm like, I'm going to dress warm because we're going to be sitting and not moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if it's warmer than what I think, I can take stuff off. But Monday was quite cold in comparison to like 2 days later. Because Monday afternoon or getting closer to the evening, I put a fire on in the garage.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And here 2 days ago, it was 30 degrees.
Yeah.
Might have been that today. I don't know.
Suntan weather. Yeah. No, so he starts hammering for a solid hour. And I think the main thing that brought him was we were sitting directly in between two different hens.
Yeah.
To the point when I first heard that hen, and we had a couple of vehicles that sounded like they parked, I was like, oh, frig. Somebody has snuck down in behind us because they've heard him sitting up on the roost tree. They've heard us clucking, and they've snuck down in. There's going to be somebody lay a barrel across my shoulder here and shoot at those decoys.
Right.
And it came very clear quickly that wasn't people. It was a hen.
Yeah.
Clucking away there.
There was people pulled in there.
There was,
but they must have left and gone the other way because I didn't hear them leave either. But
it was just my own paranoia. That's instantly where my mind went to.
Oh, yeah. Well, as you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you just pulled in, but there was vehicles there, but sometimes you wouldn't put that past people. Right?
Yeah.
So.
No, that hen, that first hen that was below us, between us and the tom, she was a sweetheart.
Yeah.
She just clocked. You know how she did that two putts and then she went into her yelp?
Yeah.
That was pretty neat. And I started mimicking her. And then when I started mimicking her, doing her same exact call routine, one above us started clucking in a different pattern.
Yeah.
And we had all that sweet music going on. And then, like you said, he was up there doing pirouettes.
Yeah.
Just hammering. And the next thing I knew, I saw the hen come out in our field. Probably 75 yards, probably no more than 100 through the trees. And then I saw him drop to the ground.
Did you see him come down?
I didn't see him come down. I saw him.
Okay.
And he looked like a full-size black bear out in that field. He was just instantly full strut. His fan was going left to right, and that's when I turned and I said, he's on the ground. And then I didn't see him anymore.
Right.
He was gone. And I could see her for a while, and she worked her way out into the middle of the field, and I was like, oh, shit. She's wary already. And she started sucking out into that field. And she got out there probably 75, 80 yards too before she turned and started coming our way. And I could see her coming, and she was clucking and calling the whole time. She was making a beeline for that. And I didn't know where he was. Like, I figured he'd be right behind her, and he wasn't. And then I heard you say, I got him right there. And I looked, and I was like, holy, he's closer. He's closer than the hen. He was right along our tree line, coming across it there. And I almost burst out laughing, I'm not going to lie, because he looked like a crab coming across there. Like he was floating sideways. He was moving so fast sideways with his fan acting like a rudder.
Yeah.
And
It was like somebody taught him to walk down the runway with books on his head.
yeah, nothing was moving except his fan.
Yeah.
And he was moving so quick. And when you said you got him, I was like, holy, we're right on top of him. And I let him go through kind of the first window, and the decoys were blocked out by a pretty good chunk of brush there. And I said, well, if he gets through here, then I'm not going to have a direct shot at him. And so it felt like it was 40, 50 seconds. It was about 5 after you said that. And I held high on him because I knew he was pretty close and I didn't want to pepper him too hard. And that was it. I let that old 10 gauge bark, and there was just turkey. Like, drove that turkey down across the field. Yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome, man.
Yeah.
I could hear him coming up the tree line drumming.
Yeah.
I couldn't see him, but I could hear him.
Yeah.
And it took me a minute to realize, like, it's such a nostalgic sound.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can hear him drumming. I'm like, I can hear him drumming. He's got to be close if I can hear him drumming.
Yeah.
And then it just kept getting louder.
Yeah.
He's coming across there, and then he came into view. I'm like, oh, you're in big trouble now, buddy.
Yeah.
You are in big trouble now. And he must have pretty much run from that tree line. When you think about where he came off the roost to where he ended up, like,
yeah.
he must, or he flew off the roost quite a ways, like glided out. He must have been able to see or something.
Well, he saw that hen, and when I saw him, it was behind the hen, 100 yards down that tree line. So he either dropped down and ran 50 yards, or he just covered the whole 100 when he glided out of there. But he didn't cackle when he came out.
No.
He didn't do anything. I just looked hard down the tree line, and he was there all full strut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hammer time.
Yeah, and that drum that he was doing, holy cow, I forgot about that.
That's the best sound.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're right, subconsciously now, I remember hearing that, but not being able to see him. And it's like, where is he?
The first time I ever heard that was in Ontario. And I'd hunted turkeys in Maine a couple times, but we hadn't gotten any for the youth turkey hunt. And we couldn't see them. We were in a tree line, and they were or hedgerow, and they were on the other side. And but I could hear that sound, and I'm like, what is that sound? And anyway, they come out and they started strutting, and when they would strut, or when they would drum and flex up, that's the noise that they would make. And I'm like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking then, I'm like, man, that is the coolest friggin' sound. And I remember being able to hear it and know that they were close but couldn't see them.
Yeah.
And same thing with this guy. When I heard that noise, I'm like, oh, yeah, he's right there.
Yeah, I couldn't hold her together. So, hindsight's 20/20, and looking back on it, one of the things that I regret is not letting him come in and interact with the decoys.
Yeah.
But being the first one, I just didn't want to. I just wanted to harvest the animal, and
yeah, you wanted to get it down. It came out in the open. The point was to be out there and shoot it, put it on the ground, and
and I felt like it was a little bit of a circus what we get into.
Yeah,
it kind of reminded me of the year previous of setting decoys up and stuff, and I was like, holy, this actually worked.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I'm like, this is textbook.
Yeah.
He gobbled on the roost. Anytime you called there, he'd hammer. I'm like, he knows we're here.
Yeah.
He can probably see the decoys. He might even have watched us walk in. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Might have heard us.
Yeah.
But anyway, here we are. The decoys are there. This is just like watching TV.
Yeah.
Because when I did it, when I had my tag, I'm like, this is not like what I see on TV at all.
Yeah. It was just so good. I just wish I'd have had the cinematography. To be patient, let him come in, let him mess up the Jake.
Well, but the thing about it is the story is in the fact that we're not those people at this point.
No,
We're
not even close.
No, we're stone cold killers. Like, we actually made this work, and there's a turkey strutting in the decoys. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
And it's funny because when I was looking at my hunt stand maps the night before, I wasn't looking at it as a turkey hunter and where I was going to sit in the window I was going to shoot out of. I was looking at it like a deer hunter.
right?
I was like, okay, well, they're going to filter up through here. So as long as I want to be sitting right here on the end of this because I want to be able to bust a shot down across here 100 yards.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking that I had to be 30 and that I was going to be back in the trees,
right.
not sitting with my boots out in the field up against a fir tree, you know, waiting for a buck to come out, that we were going to be back in there. You were going to have a bunch of camera gear.
Yeah,
You had to be in the open too, and none of that even crossed my mind till we started down in that field, and I was like, probably would have been worthwhile to walk down in here last night if I could have
yeah.
and
Check it out.
check it out. But I just wanted to get out of there. We had roosted it. I didn't want anybody to see me in there.
Yeah, 100%. No,
Yeah.
It made perfect sense to me. And I mean, I thought the same thing after we got there. I'm like, it would have been nice to have a spot picked out, but you know, for what I do, doesn't matter. I mean, you have an idea of where you want to be, and you have a lot of your boxes checked. Like, nothing's generally by chance.
Yeah.
But the difference being, doesn't matter if I make noise.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Not used to having to be quiet. Normally there's a stereo playing, people are
Yeah.
yelling.
Yeah.
You know.
So for me, it was not worrying about scent in the wind.
Right.
That hit me hard the night before. I was throwing all my stuff on the floor, and I was like, I don't have to scent lock anything. I don't need this whole other gamut of rigging. I don't have to look at the wind. I don't have to pay attention to thermals. I can literally just go sit in this field.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until it was time to go sit in it. We didn't have a place to sit.
Right. And yeah, until it was actually time to do that, and we didn't know where we were going to go.
Yeah.
We knew we were going to be in that field and in that tree line. We just didn't know where.
Yeah. And didn't know what it looked like.
And didn't know what it looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are we gonna find an open spot here?
For two of us.
For two of us.
You to sit over behind me enough that we're both out of the way.
Yeah.
So when he came into view and I knew he was like 25 yards or 30 yards, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm unhooking him right now.
And the spot that we were in was perfect.
Yeah, it was the X, man.
It really was. Like, I mean, you didn't have to snap off a bunch of branches. That was the perfect tree. Once you got in there and got sat down, I just moved my gear over and we were set up. I was super comfortable.
Yeah, me too.
You know,
Yeah.
I could have sat there for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I was turned the right way. I had my gun laying on my knee. It was perfect. I had two windows. The decoys were kind of covered. Like, there was a big spruce tree to our left that was blocking any view of us.
Yeah, I felt definitely camoed up.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like we were going to be seen by anything.
And he had no idea.
No, he didn't.
Even after we rolled him in that field, that hen stayed there.
Well, I learned that when I had my tag for sure, that I didn't take into account how good their eyesight is.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
You know,
Yep. Phenomenal.
I didn't give them enough credit for that, and
And movement in particular.
movement in particular. Yeah, so I definitely learned that. So where we were and where I was sitting, I'm like, oh, we're hid.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So no, it was awesome. Again, as soon as it was done, I was wishing that we could be like, well, we got 3 tags left. You got 1 more, and I've got 2. You know.
Yeah.
Not the
that's,
case.
That's why it's not that way.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Because I mean,
We'd have run all day.
we'd have killed 4 birds, right?
Yeah, we'd have gone because there was 2 more. We just kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have been right at it, and you know, eventually down the road we'll get over the counter tags, which will be great. But to protect the resource, there's enough research there and enough time and effort put into actually having this season that We definitely don't want to wreck it. So.
No, God, no.
And hopefully, over the years they spread out throughout the province and get into some of those other zones.
Yeah.
As they're doing right now. But it'll take time, and
It
they will.
Yeah. Be interesting to see if they, like, I have seen and heard quite a few in the big woods. And it'd be interesting to see if they can find enough habitat in that to make it go too.
They're definitely down there.
Yeah.
And that, to me, like when I watch the hunt in public, I love their stuff.
Me too.
The turkey tour,
Yep.
they do a great job. It's just real, right? It's
Yep.
not overdone. It's
Nope.
just as it happens, right?
And to me, I think that's the ultimate, is going after them in the timber.
Yeah, I would like to try that too.
Yeah.
That would be, when we're talking about ways to get them differently, that would be the way that, like when we were done and those other ones were through the trees into that, and you'd have permission on the trees, but not so much the field. Like, there was an opening in there. We saw it on the map.
Oh, yeah.
All
you got to do is make it to that and call.
Yep.
And then don't move and don't say any more.
Yeah.
So, and if I'd known it was going to go that way, it would have been neat to have one of the boys. Like I had the opportunity there to take Wyatt, who's probably not the calmest, quietest kid, but
yeah,
it probably would have worked out for him.
Well, who is at their age?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that
Next time.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah.
He enjoyed waterfowl hunting.
Oh, he loved it. I mean, he was vibrating like a 3-year-old lab.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't contain himself, man. Like I was like Wyatt, just like the amount of talking he was doing to himself in the blind. You should have been down there to witness it. So
next time.
Wyatt's not a big game hunter. Wyatt's going to be a waterfowl hunter.
Is he?
Yeah.
Him and Elliot both.
Yeah. It was quite something. It was quite neat to see that.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty exciting thing to do. I'm sure he would like the turkey hunting, and the fact that you could use a ground blind.
Yeah. So apparently a ground blind doesn't bother him.
Yeah. So that spot where we were, you could have used a ground blind. Really, if we would have been
that right up.
Yeah, if we would have been there before and said, okay, we're going to try to do it out of a ground blind for the sake of taking a kid or two.
Yeah.
That's what we'll do. But I totally agree that the woods would be a cool way to do it.
Yeah. And so that's how last year we shot robins, was in the woods. Called it to us and sat and waited, and it was neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was fun. So yeah, we were done. I think it was 6:45.
Yeah.
We were done. Get in there early. Lots of daylight. Like it was just a perfect morning.
Just over an hour into the season. Yeah, it really was. The pictures were beautiful.
I know.
So nice.
And then had all day. I think I made the comment. We had them both laying on the tailgate of my truck there.
Yeah. Jason McLean's buddy had his tag too, and was lucky enough to get his maybe just minutes before us.
Yeah, 20 minutes before us or 10 minutes before us, yeah. And so we had them both on the back of the truck, and I just felt like driving around with the tailgate down, like an old school deer hunt.
Yep.
That's what I wanted to do, loops around the town with the tailgate down, these two turkeys on the back of the truck. And I wanted to go visit people, and
Yeah.
felt like quite an accomplishment. And the letdown, the tension and the adrenaline that I had, the dump that came out of me, the adrenaline dump after I'd shot was phenomenal too.
Yeah, oh yeah, man.
That was as emotional as any whitetail I've ever shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when they drum,
Yeah.
that just fires right through you.
Yeah.
You can feel it. It's like shooting tannerite.
Yeah.
You hear it and you feel it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's damn cool. Yeah, I can't wait to do it again. It's good to get out with you. I said the other day, Scott and I hunt a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot, just not together.
Yeah, hardly ever.
Yeah.
I like getting out on a token waterfowl hunt just because deer hunting is such a solitary endeavor.
Yeah.
To go waterfowl hunting is such a social event for me.
Right.
I love sitting in the blind. I seldom shoot now.
Yeah. Yeah, you just like being there.
I'm just there.
It's good social.
Yeah.
Yeah, Julie and I were talking about it like on Saturday afternoons. we really push hard to make a point because we don't hunt Sunday, right?
Right.
We scout on Sunday, but Saturday afternoon is for the guides.
Okay.
And we always go somewheres hunting, whatever it is. Maybe it's just a duck hunt somewheres, but we get out. So those are times when you want to try to remember and book that in. We'll remind you.
Yeah.
You're welcome to come anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a great hunt, Scott. Great hunting with you. Again, there's people that listen to this, and I said for sure I was going to mention this. There's people from all over Canada that listen to this. We got downloads in every province, downloads in basically every state, but more consistently, the most popular states are certainly in the Northeast. I think New York is the number one, New York State.
Yeah.
And number 3 right now is the Netherlands.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, it's most generally Germany.
Yeah.
But the Netherlands is number 3. But there's downloads from all over the world, which is crazy. But like a lot in Germany. But this last one, the last time I checked, just on a small span of like a week, the last week's downloads, it was mostly the Netherlands, which was kind of cool. So,
I could see New York too, because a lot of outdoorsmen in New York have ties to New Brunswick.
For sure.
The rich history with New York and New Brunswick.
So for all those people, thanks for listening. Yeah. Really appreciate you and your downloads. And I know you're listening from those places. And I said that I was going to mention it this time. And I wanted to make sure that I did. Really appreciate it. And share it with your friends. And, I'm doing a lot more interviews on here now. But we are still going to do these one-on-ones with, just us or local people and tell stories about the hunts that we've been on. But if you're interested in a waterfowl hunt here or turkey hunt now, or any type of hunting that we have here, definitely reach out. So if you haven't been to New Brunswick and you're a turkey fiend and you haven't shot one here, you probably should. You're missing out.
The biggest ones in the world. Yeah. Look like black bears.
Black bears are scared of them. Even the geese are.
Yeah. Deer are for sure.
Thanks for coming on, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for having me.